This is a fun little story, experience, something that happened to me. I believe it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, forget exactly, on a Sunday night. I had a late night chavrusa, and before the chavrusa, during the daytime, there was a clogged toilet, and I tried over and over and over again to unclog it with a plunger, you know. And every time that I did it, I honestly, or pretty much every time I would do it, I would think as I was doing it, I'd try to think of like the parallel spiritual world where, there's these clogs, these channels of divine light that we want to come into the world, and Hashem should clear those channels out. And every time that I did it, nothing happened. It seemed like to be really bad clog, and I had given up on it, kind of given up, but not given up. You know how that goes. And by the time that I started to learn with my friend, I basically had already talked to my wife about how we're going to need a plumber to come and take care of it. When we needed to take a break in the middle of learning, late, sometime after midnight, I needed to go to the bathroom, and going to the bathroom reminded me, oh no, this toilet's still clogged. But I also didn't want to go to the toilet upstairs because I didn't want to wake my kid up. Now, one of the things that I thought about, so I went to the toilet, and right, that's right, I was thinking about something. I was thinking about how I forgot every time I didn't daven to Hashem before I went in, and ask Hashem to help me unclog the toilet before I went in, which would be most appropriate, or to say L'Shem Yichud, in order to create a unification with the lower levels and lower letters and higher letters of Hashem's name. And I forgot again this time. And when I went in, I tried to unclog it and it didn't work. And then I was like, you know what, I'll go get the snake. So I went and I got the snake, the plumbing tool, the snake, the metal kind of like thick coil that you put into the toilet, and you spin it around and try to unclog whatever's in there. So I did that. And I got to the source of the problem, and right when I got there, the coil ended. I was like, oh man. So it didn't unclog again. I tried everything I could with my own hands, so to speak, and it took me a good 30 minutes. So by the time, maybe 20 minutes, so by the time that I finished, I came out to see if my friend was still there to learn with me, and he wasn't. So I called him up and I said, I wrote him a message. I don't remember. We could continue learning. He came back on. We learned for a while longer. And afterwards, I needed to use the restroom before I went to bed. So I was walking to the restroom, and I remembered that, you know what, every time I didn't say L'Shem Yichud, I didn't try to connect to Hashem through my voice. Now, what was my chavrusa and I learning? We were learning about, from the Baal Shem Tov, how one of the things that we were learning about, but as we finished it up, was that when one is davik, when one is cleaving to Hashem, by realizing that the breath that is leaving from you it's a life, it's the life of your neshama that's leaving from you, and that breath, that life force that's leaving from you, is really and truly included within Hashem's life force, because there's nothing that's living that Hashem is not creating at every single moment. Everything is coming from Hashem. So when one focuses on that, how one's breath is one's life force, and one's life force is coming from Hashem, and one unifies, therefore, their hevel, their breath, to their speech and the words that they're saying, all to Hashem, right? So it says there that when one gets into that, I think you could call it contemplative thought process, that meditative thought process, as you're breathing and as you're speaking, and then you dive in that state of mind, you pray in that state of mind. So then the Dibur hatachton, the lower dibur, the speech that we normally experience as being, completely from us, connects to the dibur ha'elyon, connects to the higher speech. And then when you connect to the dibur ha'elyon, which means the place from which the speech that comes from you actually comes from, which is from Hashem, and which is the place where Hashem creates existence every single moment, ultimately. And they're not the place from which, but the place from which He is speaking existence into being. So you're connecting to that place. So that type of connection in your mind really has, therefore, an incredible impact on the coming moments, right? So when you speak in the lower world by connecting your speech to Hashem's creativity, so to speak, so then you elicit the higher speech, which is Hashem's actual flow of creativity into the world, and your prayers are incredibly impactful, can rip apart negative decrees, etc. So I had this in mind, and as I was walking to the bathroom to try to unclog it one more time, this time I said L'Shem Yuchud, and I davened to Hashem, and I had this idea of how the breath is also the life force coming from Hashem. And I went into the bathroom and I said, okay, here we go, Hashem, I'll give it one more try. And I took the plunger in my hand. I didn't even use the snake this time. And I didn't even the oftentimes you go to plunger, have all your might, a little bit of strength in your hands. But in this time, I just kind of went relatively slowly and allowed the plunger to just, and I started to imagine there was it's not just the plunger, but it's the vibrations that come from the plunger, so to speak, that could penetrate the whatever it was that was clogging up the toilet. I don't know, that's just what came into my imagination. And all of a sudden I felt like it had unclogged. And I took the plunger out, I put it down, and it did. What do you think?